Hey students, in this video I'm going to explain how to solve quadratic inequalities. So the first thing you want to do is look at this inequality as an equation. And you want to equal it to 0, so that way you can solve for the quadratic using any of the forms or methods that you have learned so far. Usually you have the equation as y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So that tends to usually be seen as 0 equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So some people usually tend to move everything to the right side. Others like to see it as an equation equaling 0. But to be honest, it really doesn't matter because you're still going to be able to get the answers, the same solutions, whether you have the 0 on the left side or the 0 on the right side. So personally, I like to keep the x squared positive, so I'm going to go ahead and move these to the left side. Minus 7x on both sides and minus 14 on both sides. So that cancels these, and I'm going to be left with x squared minus 4x minus 12 equals 0. So this is the part where now that you solved it for 0, you consider all the different methods to solve this quadratic equation of x squared minus 4x minus 12. Find the solutions, meaning you can graph it and just quickly find where the solutions are on your graphing calculator. You can also use the quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And this will result in the x values for the solutions. Or you can also use factoring method, which is finding the factors that equal this trinomial and then equaling each factor to 0 to solve for x for each one. So different methods. Personally, I'm going to review the factoring method because that's the one that most students tend to overlook. But you can always just type this in your calculator and graph it. So to do the factoring method, you remember that x squared is created by doing x times x. And then the negative 12, we need to consider what factors do you multiply to get 12, or negative 12, sorry. I like to do this x to organize the product sum strategy. So the product of negative 12 and the sum of negative 4. What two numbers do I multiply to get negative 12? And then when I add them, they end up, when I combine them, they end up being 4. So the products of 12, the factors of 12, we have 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. And the combination that will give us a 4 is 2 and 6 if we put them with different symbols. So 2 and 6 will give us 12 if one of them is negative, negative 12. And then which one is negative is based out of which one will give us that negative 4 as a combination. So we want to have that negative on the 6. 2 minus 6 is negative 4. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. That means that the 2 goes here and the negative 6 goes here. And therefore, these are our factors, x plus 2 and x minus 6. So we're going to grab each factor and equal it to 0. And now solve. So one of the solutions is x equals to negative 2, and the other solution is x equals to positive 6. So these are solutions to the equation when it equals 0. But let's go back to the original. We have an inequality. So what we have just found is that the quadratic formula is going to touch at negative 2 and positive 6. But now we need to decide where the solutions are, where the area of the solutions are, whether it's in between negative 2 and 6, or if it's before negative 2 and after negative 6. So the third thing I would like to advise you to do is to do a test. The test is going to tell you whether 0 on the inside is part of the solution or not. So you grab the original inequality that they give you up here, and you plug in a 0. So this is the original inequality. And if you plug in a 0 into all these x's, So 0 squared cancels. 3 times 0 is 0, so it cancels, and you're left with 2. 7 times 0 cancels, and you're left with 14. So is 2 less than or equal to 14? The answer to this is no. So therefore this is false. So therefore 0 is not in the solution area. So because 0 is not in the solution area, we need to consider the number line and understand that any number before -2 is in the solution area, and any number after 6 is in the solution area. And this goes on forever, to the left and to the right. So our final answer is going to be annotating that we're using any number before -2. So -infinity to -2. And then we're also using 6 to infinity. So we're going to use the symbol that we use to represent or, any number from 6 to infinity. So between finalizing this, we need to just put brackets or parentheses based on if we're including the values or not. And it goes back to the symbol. This symbol means that or equal to. So we can include -2 and we can include 6. But remember that infinities never stop, so we're going to keep going. So this right here is the final notation for your answer to the inequality. I hope this video helps.